MLS continues to roll on as we head into week 7. We've already seen some of the big rivalries take place. Some teams kind of fall flat on their face and others fly higher than expected. And I mean, that's what you get in MLS. Yeah, we may not have the Manchester Cities versus the Liverpools, but what we do have is a rivalry named after a traffic jam. It's time to take a look into this week's coming set of games and break down what you can expect this weekend. So, let's go. First game on deck, it's Toronto FC versus the Philadelphia Union. After a rough start to the season, conceding 7 goals in their first 3 games, new head coach Bob Bradley has straightened the ship with his 2-2 draw last week, extending Toronto's unbeaten streak to 3 matches. But on the other side of this game is the only team left in the league to remain unbeaten across all of their 6 matches, which includes 5 wins and only 1 draw. That record puts Philadelphia Union on the very top of not only the Eastern Conference, but the whole league. Meanwhile, Toronto, well, they're sitting in 8th. So with a brief look at this game, I'm sure it really seems like the Union will pick up another win this year. But let's talk about why that might not be the case. Although Philly has been really strong this season, they aren't a team that really dominates games. Earlier this year in their 2-0 win over Nycfc, the Union only held 26% of possession and were outshot 18-13. In their last game against Columbus, they held 31% of the possession and were outshot 19-10, but they still managed to pick up the 1-0 win, albeit it came from a massive error by the Crew's goalkeeper. Still though, the fact that they have these possible cracks in their game is good news for the Reds. For Toronto, like I mentioned, I think they're still working on finding themselves. Coming off a really disappointing year in 2021, they're now in a limbo phase where Bob Bradley is still working on figuring out his best lineup, along with waiting for the summer when Napoli's top scorer, Lorenzo Insigne, will be joining the team. They've switched to a 3 in the back after their first 3 games, and it's proved to be the right decision. They are also seeing great production from their new DP striker, Jesus Jimenez, who came from the Polish league over the offseason. In his 6 starts so far, Jimenez has picked up 3 goals and an assist and has shown his composure when he's in the box. But even with Jimenez in form, this Union team is tough and they're not easy to take advantage of. With 4 clean sheets and only 2 goals conceded this year, it's hard to imagine Toronto will be able to score more than 1 goal. Andre Blake is consistent as usual, currently holding down an 89% save percentage. And the backline, consisting of Elliott and Glesnes, is sure to stay intact. I know I mentioned that Philadelphia doesn't dominate games, but that's not their intention to fully control a game. They're a team that will beat down the opponent and outwork them until they get their opportunity, and because of that, I'm going to pick them to win this game with a score of 2-0. The next matchup I'm eyeing down this weekend is the Chicago Fire as they host the LA Galaxy. Now, kind of surprisingly, the Chicago Fire were one of the last teams to remain unbeaten, and they only just recorded their first loss of the season last weekend at Orlando. Along with that, they've been pretty tight defensively, only conceding 2 goals in their 6 games, which is a massive improvement considering in their first 6 games in 2021, they conceded 10 goals. But even though they haven't been conceding, they also haven't really been scoring much either. Now, the Fire do have 5 goals on the year, but those all came in back-to-back wins. Meanwhile, they've been shut out in their other 4 matches. Over the offseason, they brought in the Union's all-time top goal scorer in Kasper Shibilko, but he hasn't quite found his feet consistently yet. Chicago currently ranks in the bottom 4 for scoring attempts, which is a bit disappointing, especially when you spent the $8 million to bring in Shaqiri over from France. But I mean, I'm sure he'll pick up form a little bit more as he gets more comfortable in this team. On the other side of this matchup, you've got an LA Galaxy team that is determined to change their fortunes of the past few seasons. Leading that charge for them is, well, no other than Chicharito. Last season, we saw what a healthy Chicharito can do in this league, and this year he's firing on all cylinders again, currently leading the league in goals with 5. Over the past few games, he has showcased his insane ability off the ball and has found space right in front of goal to do what he does best, put the ball in the net. When you watch his runs against Portland and LAFC, I mean, there's no doubt to why he leads this league in scoring attempts and scoring attempts on target. Along with Chicharito, Raheem Edwards has been a new player this season, really thriving under Greg Vanney. He's been lethal in the attack coming down the flank and already has 5 assists to his name. As for this Galaxy team altogether, they're coming off an emotional win in El Trafico, which can either do one of two things. They'll either be really amped up and carry the momentum they have and roll through Chicago, or they'll be so exhausted from the emotional roller coaster that was the LA Derby and come out flat. I think because of Javier Hernandez's form and the wave of Galaxy's success over the past few weeks, combined with Chicago's lack of scoring prowess, I envision a Galaxy win away from home 2-1. The final game I'll take a look at in depth is top of the West LAFC against the struggling side of Sporting Kansas City. Now, with that type of introduction, I think I clearly laid out the storyline to this game. LAFC, although losing their last match against the Galaxy, look to have made the right moves in order to return to their glory of their first few years in the league. When it was announced that Steve Cherundolo would be taking the reins of this LA side, it was met with a lot of questions. If Cherundolo could only manage a 6-23-3 record with the USL's Las Vegas Lights, how could he bring this LAFC team back to where they felt like they belong? Well, with the focus on bringing in MLS experience over the offseason with Hollingshead, Ilie Sanchez, Kellen Acosta, and Maxim Crepeau, paired with a tweaked attacking system LA was already used to, it looks like he found a way to get the most out of this squad. I mean, it also helps when you have a motivated and healthy Carlos Vela, but I think this team's turnaround from their struggles last season is more than just having Vela back. LAFC leads the league in second place in expected goals, and they have already scored 14 in their 6 games. This, a scoring for fun LAFC, is the LAFC that this league needs. On the other side of this game, though, is a more bleak situation. Sporting Kansas City is off to a really poor start, and with only 2 wins and 5 losses, I think it may be time to start panicking a little bit. Now, this side has been dealing with major injuries this year, with Gadi Kinda yet to play and, of course, the absence of Alan Pulido for the whole season, but still, this side should not be sitting in 12th. Daniel Shalloway has taken a step back from his key role he played last year, and this team has no real answer for the number 9 position. So far, we see Kiri Shelton up there most often, but with over 350 minutes, he's yet to contribute to a goal. The crazy part too is that this side does get into attacking space and actually ranks as one of the highest teams in passes in the opposition's half, but they're tied for the least amount of goals scored this year. This SKC team has a lot to figure out to get back into the playoff contention that we expect them to be in, and I don't think they'll be able to figure out in time for this game on the weekend. With that being said, I'm taking LAFC in this one with a bigger scoreline of 3-0. As we start to wrap up this preview, I have 2 other games I suggest that you keep an eye on. The first one is New England Revolution hosting Charlotte FC. The Revolution are having a nightmare that they can't wake up from. They're coming into this game off of 4 straight losses, which include last week's embarrassing result against Inter Miami. Another one of those losses came from the team that they're playing this week, Charlotte FC. On the other side, Charlotte's been slowly getting into gear with Karol Swiderski really coming into form. But I mean, I just got to know how long this rut is going to last for New England. The next matchup I'd keep an eye on is NYCFC versus Real Salt Lake. NYC is another team that is struggling in the early part of this season. While trying to balance MLS and CCL, they've had a tough start to the league, currently sitting in 12th in the East. Meanwhile, RSL has already started the year off really bright, holding down 3rd place in the West with a 3-1-3 record. They've already picked up huge wins this year against Seattle, Nashville, and New England, and I think they may be able to do it again against the current MLS champions. And finally, to end off the video, I'm going to give you my guaranteed win of the weekend. So far, we're 2 for 2 on these predictions, picking New York Red Bulls win in Week 1 and an LAFC win in Week 4. But this time, I'm going to be backing the Seattle Sounders as they welcome Inter Miami to Lumen Field. Now, Seattle hasn't started the season off how they would have liked, but it's starting to come together for them. Returning from injury is Raul Ruidiaz and Nicolas Ladero, 2 players who played a huge role in Seattle's success over the years. Along with them though, Christian Roldan and Jordan Morris have been in great form throughout the last few games, which includes a massive win over NYCFC in the CCL semi-final. Although Miami picked up their first win of the season last weekend, I don't expect that to continue. I think Miami's backline will struggle with Seattle's attack, and that's why I have Seattle in my guaranteed win of the weekend. And that's all I got for you. Remember, you can hear the rest of my thoughts on this weekend, along with Danny T Radios, on our show, The Left Shin Guard, that is live. That's right, you heard me, live every Thursday at 7:30 Eastern Time. You can check that out by clicking the I button above. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed the video.